Welcome to Women in the Arena podcast, the podcast celebrating women doing extraordinary things in plain sight. I'm your host, Audra Egan, and our mission is to elevate the value, strength, and resilience each woman brings to the world. Without further delay, let's go ahead and start the show. Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for joining me for Season 4 of Women in the Arena podcast. This season, we are going to challenge ourselves. We are going to grow. We're going to stretch. We're going to push ourselves outside our comfort zone, and we're going to do some things that we have been dreaming to do. As I have said before, I may be the one behind the mic, but I don't do this by myself. I do this with all of you. Thank you all for joining me today, and let's go ahead and start the show. Welcome in, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me again this week. You know, every single week I am just humbled and excited and awed with the amazing women that agree to come on my show and speak about themselves. And today is certainly no exception. Today, I am joined by Laura Brandao, and she's a remarkable woman. She is the president of a national lending institution. That is the least interesting fact about her. She is so much more than the president of this organization, which in and of itself is impressive. But she just has so much more to offer. And I am so glad that she's here today. So it is my pleasure and my honor to introduce to you Laura Brandao. Laura, thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome to the show.
Well, it is truly an honor to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I'm just so excited that you're here because you are just you're electric, you're dynamic, and for those that don't work in this crazy institution called mortgage, she is a pillar in this community. We look up to her. She inspires us. She is an amazing mentor, and she's mentored many women in this industry. However, as I said in the beginning, she is so much more than that. And today we're going to talk about some things that I think that many of us, if you haven't gotten to it yet, you will. There is a moment where you finally find your voice. And I mean your true, authentic voice, the voice that you've probably been stifling for a really long time, and that voice that drives you forward to what your real purpose is. And that's what we're going to talk about today with Laura, because she had this moment, as I've had this moment, and I can't wait for all of you that haven't gotten to that moment to get there, because once you get there, there's no going back. So, Laura, let's talk about the journey of finding your voice and then what opened up from there.
Yes. Okay. I love to tell this story because it literally plays out in my mind almost like a movie, right? Like I can almost look back on it and say, oh, let's rewind and watch that again. So this part started in 2018. Now, Audra, just like you said, yes, I am the president of AFR. I started AFR Wholesale in 2017. Okay. Employee number one. And from 2007 to 2018, I was head down, focused, building my company. Exciting, wonderful. But in 2018, something happened in our industry, something called margin compression. Okay, scary word. That word's coming back this year too. But it was the first time that I had heard those words in 2018. So what that means for some of you that aren't in our industry, it means that in order to make the same amount of money that you made, you have to technically do double the amount of business because you're making less on every single transaction. So here I am, I'm Mama Bear, taking care of my team and my company and trying to figure out how am I doubling the amount of clients I have in a short amount of time. Well, my phone rang. And on the other end of that phone was a mortgage conference promoter asking me to come and speak at a conference. Now, for people that know me in 2022, you're like, yeah, Laura, that happens every single day. But in 2018, that was the first time that that happened. So I said yes, and all was great until about 2 or 3 weeks before the conference. All of a sudden, my tummy is getting a little nervous, and I'm thinking, what the heck did I just agree to? I am not good at doing this, and what am I thinking? So I problem solve. I'm an executive. I call one of my team members and I said, hey, how would you like to go and speak in California? And he said, of course, Laura, happy to do it. Well, my phone rang again. And this time it was that same mortgage conference promoter. And he said, Laura Brandao, what are you doing? And I said, oh, what do you mean? I decided I don't want to go, and I'm going to have someone else go. And he said, no. Now, Audra, imagine that. Someone said no to me. This guy said no to me. And I thought to myself, there must be something he sees in me. There must be something here. So I said, no problem. I will be there. And for 3 weeks, I watched every YouTube video. I read books. I read up on how to be dynamic on stage and what to do. Well, I got up on that stage and something happened. As I was coming off, I had a line of women waiting to speak to me. I didn't know what they wanted, but I said, how can I help you, ladies? And they turned to me and they said, Laura, thank you. And I said, thank you for what? They said, for being a woman executive up on that stage, because we never see women up there. We see lots of male executives, lots of men up there, but we never see women. Thank you. And Audra, in that moment, the light bulb went off in my head, and I realized that if I let fear overcome me, or if that gentleman didn't tell me no, I wouldn't have been that woman on the stage. And I decided that I will never let fear get the best of me ever again, and I will be the voice, because you cannot be what you do not see. So I'm going to make it so as many people as possible see me, whether it's on social or whether it's speaking in front of a room or whether it's being the voice of others, because I will be that voice for others until they're ready to share their own.
First of all, that gives me such chills because there has been a growth. There has been a movement of more women showing up. And I want everybody to hear that Laura is an accomplished executive, and she still had fear. Just because you are an executive of an organization doesn't make you exempt from fear, especially as a woman in a very male-dominated field. And she overcame that fear and said yes, pushed herself outside her comfort zone. And I've said it many, many times, outside your comfort zone is where magic happens. And you found your voice, but then you did so much more with it. Will you tell us a little bit more of when you finally were like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do? What did you do with it?
Well, it started small, right? Because after I got off that stage, people started coming to me. Can I have you on my podcast? Can I write an article about you? Can you come and speak at other things? And each time that I did it, I had more people come to me saying, thank you for sharing your fear, or thank you for being vulnerable to share your story. Thank you for this. And I started realizing that my voice was powerful to inspire other people. So I kept pushing. I said, you know what? I'm going to join the board of this MBA group, and I'm going to join the board of NAMBA, and I'm going to start women's groups, and I'm going to chair and start brand new groups in this industry because I need to show them that they can do it. So the ripple just started getting bigger and bigger. And then in 2020, when the pandemic hit, I said, I need to share this in a book. I need to memorialize this into a book so that I can leave it behind for other people to pick up and be able to share that. And that is where my book came from. Say Yes Every Day is the story of, I want to back up a moment. Yes, I am an accomplished mortgage executive. Yes. But my journey in mortgage started back when I was 19 years old and me and my husband were engaged to be married and we got pregnant at 19. In that moment, I thought my entire life was over. I was told, you just screwed up your life. You will never have anything. You messed up. And yes, although I defeated the odds and I accomplished greatness and I hit every goal I wanted to, up until that moment in 2018, when I realized my mission and passion of having a voice for others, every time I did something, I thought of myself as that 19-year-old girl that made that mistake, but not anymore.
Oh my gosh, Laura, I the reason why my jaw is open because this means a lot to me personally, and I hope that it's meaning and hitting home with all of you. Because what she's saying is that she carried with her a lifetime of an identity that somebody else gave her. And it's stuck. And the reason why this is so hitting home for me is because I realized not all that long ago that I was carrying an identity with me, along with me. I'm 50 years old. I was carrying an identity that maybe I used to have. Maybe it was given to me and I didn't earn it, or a perception of me. I was carrying it and taking it as truth. And Laura's saying the same thing. And her part of her mission is for you to drop that, to drop it. You don't need it. It doesn't serve you. And with Laura showing up for all of us, what I want to hear is I know that there has been so many women that have shared their story of finding their voice because you inspired them. Do you have a favorite of a woman that came to you and said, this is what I've done because you encouraged me to do it?
Well, actually, this is very relevant that we're having this conversation because it just happened last week. So part of one of these women's groups that I started because I realized my mission right now is to inspire others to find their voice. That is my mission. So 2 years ago was actually a week before shutdown of March of 2020. I had one of these women's groups. And what this was is I handpicked 50 women within the mortgage industry to come to an event where I was going to strategize on how to build out a brand new group to be able to get the reach across the entire industry. So we came together, that same hotel, matter of fact, the same hotel as in 2018. So Irvine, California, we come together in this room to strategize. Well, I got up and gave my welcoming speech. And as part of that speech, I said, ladies, not only are we making an impact on the women in this industry, we have an aging problem in our industry because the average age in the mortgage industry at that time was 51. And I said, we need to bring in new talent. We need to help them and guide them and train them and need them to be able to take our spots when it's time for us to exit this wonderful industry. Well, there was a woman in the audience that I'm now very good friends with. She took that to heart. And a week after shutdown in 2020, she opened up a YouTube page to train processors. Well, last week, 2 years later, Last week, I emceed her first live conference event where she now has people flying in from all over the country, processors that started in our business when she made the decision to do something about something that I said to her. And she is now changing lives, bringing in new talent and training them and guiding them and putting them in positions to be able to help families. And that's the impact that all of us have. She was also a teen mom. She also wore the same badge or red, what is that, with the scarlet letter, right? She wore the same shame for all these years. But when she heard what I was able to do and be able to drop that scarlet letter, she too found her confidence and her voice. And now she's changing all these other lives.
I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, at some point when you find your voice, you also realize that the point of your life is not to do your job. The point of your life is really to serve others. That has probably been the most amazing experience of this entire endeavor of this podcast show that I've put together, is that my voice and inviting other women with their voices is making a positive impact. It's changing lives. It's making people stop and think. And more importantly, it's making us feel like we're not alone, that we're totally in this together, and that we all feel pretty much the same. And I just think it's a beautiful thing that for one comment that you said impacted another woman so much that she decided to change lives. I wonder what those lives have done, and how it continues to grow on, you inspire and you empower women to be able to find a new career. And it's a career, by the way, that you can probably do from your home and still have a family and be present for them as well. I wonder what that's done. I'm curious as to what those women have experienced because of this one life-changing act, which I bet she didn't think she was changing lives at the moment. I bet
She
she
didn't.
didn't.
She didn't. Not at all. I mean, she was in the middle of COVID saying, I have to do something, right? We all were trying to do something, right? Something we can control. So in her mind, she's thinking, I'm doing this for me, right? At that moment. But then quickly she realized it wasn't about her at all. It was about all those others. And it's interesting you said that, Audra, about the whole working from home and stuff. When I was leaving the conference on Sunday, there was a woman that we were having a conversation, and I asked her, how long have you been in the industry? What was your experience? And she had told me that she had only been in it about 6 months. So I said, okay, how did you come in? She said, well, a friend of mine told me about Jackie's YouTube page with training for processors when I lost my job because I was in the service and hospitality industry during COVID, and my children were being homeschooled. I had to be able to work from home. And a friend of mine said, hey, how about this? You could process from home and be in the mortgage industry. And I think this could be a new career. She told me she'll never go back to hospitality. She loves what she's doing. And yes, that's just one person that we know. That whole family has changed.
So what this is saying is that if you don't think that your one little voice and your one little act can't change the world, you are wrong. Because Laura had one act and it inspired all these other women. And then those women inspired other women. And these women that are feeling empowered, they go and empower other women. They empower their children. This is how you change the world. And this is where the real magic happens, is when you realize that everything you're doing is not about you. And I have never felt so fulfilled in my entire life, in my entire career, than I do when I get to interview women in this space, because I'm just humbled and awed at how we're all just trying to make our worlds a better place by doing whatever gifts we've been given and giving them freely, because you never know what might happen.
Totally agree.
And Laura, you have, besides this, you've defined a mission for all of us to follow. And this is what you talk about on your show, on your podcast, which is, what is your why? And what are you doing about it? So
Mm-hmm.
talk to us about your mission of what is your why.
Yeah, let me tell you where it all started, right? So I've been in the mortgage industry since I was in my early 20s, right? That's my whole career. I've been in the mortgage industry. And when I first came in, to be quite honest, I almost didn't tell people I was in the mortgage industry because it was a very negative overtone of people that were in mortgage. And then the crash happened and it got to say you were in the mortgage industry because everybody was like those bad people that ruined the economy and all those people lost their homes and it was very negative. So now here I am at this stage in my life and I realize I have the power of my voice and the power of spotlighting other people. And just like you just said, Audra, everything I do is about other people. Every article I write is about other people. Every board I'm on is about helping the other people. Every podcast is about the other people. It's always about the other people. So I thought to myself, okay, if we have this negative overtone in our industry, what can I do with using my voice that will change that? Because again, like you said, maybe I'm not going to get to 100 million people, but if I get to 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, it will ripple. It will continue to spread, right? And then eventually, who knows where it can go. So my concept was, how about if I interview mortgage people and I say to them, literally, this is my first question. Most of us come into the mortgage industry by accident, but we stay in the mortgage industry because it's tied to our personal and professional why. So, what's your why? Because at that moment, they open up. But it's the second question that really gets you. The second question is, tell me a story of when you realized the monumental impact you have on the world by the families that you serve. Audra, it starts with their why of why they do it. But then when they couple it with a story of how I'll actually share one of the stories. A woman that I recently interviewed, she told me a story about her and her father were going to stay at a hotel. And when they were checking in, the gentleman behind the desk was wearing a pin that he was a Marine. So she said to him, "Thank you for your service. And are you using your VA benefit for home ownership?" And the man kind of looked down and said, "I've tried to get a mortgage before and I didn't qualify. And no one in my family owns a home." And she said, "Well, sir, if you have just a moment, I will look it up right now and see what benefit is available for you because I may be able to help." And he said, "Don't bother. I don't think I'm good enough. And it's okay." Well, she decided to continue that conversation. Long story short, the gentleman had full VA benefits, and that man purchased his first home with his wife for the first in his entire family history, all because this young lady took the time to connect, have a conversation, and show him the way. That not only impacted him, it will impact generations to come. And that's why I do that podcast, because I want people to realize the power we have as mortgage professionals and the changes and difference we make in the world by being able to be a true professional and helping others.
That is such an amazing story, because she, in that one simple conversation, which that was something that she pushed through
She did.
his resistance to, the idea that he could be good enough, because because nobody in his family were quote unquote good enough. So what would be different for him?
Yep.
And she pushed through that negativity to tell him that he was good enough. And through with her help, he broke the generational curse
That's right.
and showed his family and his future family that it is possible. And that was just through one act of kindness, because she followed her why.
That's right.
I wonder how many other people's lives, families she's changed just by following her why.
That's exactly right.
Do you have any other stories you can share with us? Because this just
Wait, I have one more. This is a
please.
good one too. All right, you ready? This
I
is a
am.
good one. So I met this gentleman that is an expert in sign language, right? And I met him on a webinar. And when I heard that, I'm like, oh, that's a good one for What's Your Why, right? Because this gentleman went to school, he went to college for sign language. And I'm like, there has to be a great story behind that. So let's get him on. So he comes on and I said, please share with me the story. He actually got into it, not for any reason like for that, but let me share a story about a family he helped. So he's working with this young gentleman. The young gentleman grew up, he was raised by his grandmother, and he's working as an engineer, and he wants to get pre-qualified to get a house. Okay. So this loan officer, anytime he meets with someone, he always asks this question. He says, so tell me, what three people are going to be the first three people you would call to say that you found your perfect home, or that are going to guide you through this experience? So he says, okay, first would be my 14-year-old daughter. My second would be my grandmother. And my third would be my mother. Okay. So he pre-qualifies him and sends him on his way to go look for a house. So about a week passes and he reaches out to him and says, okay, how is it going? So the gentleman put his head down and communicated in sign language, I think I'm going to wait. And so the loan officer could see something wasn't right. And he says, okay, no problem. Tell me, what happened when you spoke to those three people? Please share it with me. And he says, my daughter was so excited. She said, we can get a dog, Dad. We'll have a backyard. I can't wait. The grandmother said, I am so proud of you. I can't believe how hard you worked. You got your degree. You got a good job. So proud of you. What did your mom say? He said, my mom said, who do you think you are? None of us have ever owned a home. We've all rented. Do you think you're better than us? And in that moment, he explained to him that listening to his grandmother and his daughter and realizing the impact that he would have on his daughter's life and generations to come behind it, that yes, sometimes there are people in our lives that don't understand the direction we're going. But we have to look at the bigger picture and realize that those are the people to listen to. The gentleman did wind up buying the house and the dog and the backyard and all of that. But how many people out there have that person in their life that maybe feeds their mind to not necessarily want them to proceed and be successful in that direction?
I think we probably all have at least one, whether we're related to them, whether we work with them, maybe sometimes we work for them. There's at least one. Everybody has that. I don't want to see you succeed, because they have this mentality of, if you succeed, then there's less for me,
Right.
which is wrong, 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 wrong. Success multiplies. It doesn't divide or subtract. It just because someone is successful doesn't mean that there's less for you.
No way.
It
I
means there's
agree
more.
with you. Yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say, I agree with you. It actually grows. It actually gets bigger and bigger and bigger. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, there means there's more opportunity. But it's easier to be negative because being positive and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, no matter how uncomfortable your comfort zone is, when you push out of it, it's scary because you've never been there before. You've never done it before. And what if you do it wrong? What if you make a mess of things? Well, what if you don't? and
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 sometimes out of those messes come the best things. I mean, listen, I don't think there's such a thing as a mistake. I think it's all a learning opportunity. Life is the joy of life is you don't know what's going to happen. None of us have any idea what's going to happen today, tomorrow, next week, 5 years. No, none of us know. But that's what's joyous about it is we get to prepare and design and we get to think about and create that vision and be excited about what's coming. I mean, that's the journey. If we knew everything that was going to happen, what fun would that be, right? What fun would it be if we know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow? There's no fun in that.
no, there's no adventure in that.
No,
There's no excitement. There's no joy
no,
because it's the same thing in and out every day. And personally, for me, that sounds awful.
that's awful.
Yeah, I personally love functioning that every day is a new day, and I never have the same day twice, and that gives me joy. That gives me joy. That's why professionally, I have a career that it's never the same day twice because I love that. But not everybody functions like that. And like I said, outside your comfort zone is magic. I promise there is magic out there. Um, Laura, obviously, you know that I could talk to you all day.
Me too.
But I really want to help the women and men, if there's men out there that are, because we do have a small but mighty male audience. So thank you for those male audience members that listen to me every week and support me. I appreciate you. You have no idea how much. But there I know that there are women out there going, "Ugh, I'm afraid to find my voice because it's scary. But I know that I need to because I know there's something wrong because I can feel it, but I don't know how to I just don't know how. I don't know where to start." But Laura, you make it easy. So like I said, your mission is to help other people find their voices. And for you, your heart goes with women and to find their why. How would they reach out to you to get your assistance? Because you really just want to come on alongside them and support them through it. They do all the work. You're just there to let them know that they're not alone.
Absolutely. And listen, it is scary. I wasn't looking for my life to change by using my voice. I had a very great life. I was a successful mortgage executive. I was happily married and my kids everything was great. Why did I need to change? Why did I need to step out of my comfort zone? I didn't need to. Everything was glorious, right? Why most people think you only have to change when things are going bad. That's wrong. That is wrong.
Mhm.
Because at that moment, the way I look at it, it's actually funny. I'll share something with you. When I started going up on stages and being on magazines and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, Jesus Christ, couldn't this have happened like 10 years earlier when I was younger? Now in my life, right? Like 10 years ago. And someone said to me, Laura, 10 years ago, you weren't ready yet. It wasn't your time to do it yet. So the first thing I would say is the time will happen when it's ready for you, but you have to be open every single day to the what say yes every day means. It's not about saying yes to everything. So please, I'm not telling you to say yes to everything. What say yes every day is about is going into every single thing and every day being open to what that day brings you with no preconceived notions or expectations. See, what I've learned is a lot of times we do things. And when the outcome isn't what you thought it was going to be in your head, you look at it as a failure, or you look at it as, well, I'm not going to do that again because I tried it once and it didn't give me the outcome I expected. You're not necessarily the one making that decision. Maybe in that moment, it was to prepare you for what was coming a year from now, or a month from now, or 5 years from now. Maybe it was just that contact that you had to have that initial conversation, or you had to just meet that person at that moment to set the stage for something that's coming. But a lot of times we shut ourselves down and we don't put ourselves out there because we're thinking, well, why would I do that? It doesn't tie into what I'm working on right now. But that's wrong, because what you're working on right now may only be the start of where you're really going 5 years from now. So be open to everything. Live life to the fullest every single day. Because even when, what I want you to remember is, don't worry about the how, just focus on the why. So when you know why you're doing something, how you're going to make it happen will come and fall into place without you being concerned about them. A lot of times we get caught up in the how. Forget the how. The why is the most important. Be open to everything because nothing happens by accident. There's reasons why everything appears, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's supposed to happen. Don't live your life in fear. Embrace everything that happens because it's meant for you at that moment in time. Feel free to connect to me on social, LinkedIn, Facebook. My webpage is my name, laurabrandao.com. You can contact me through there. I would love to support you. Be a cheerleader. Nothing makes me happier than watching others grow, be happy, and be successful. Life is hard, but we are in it together. Let's bond together and help each other. And there we can change the world.
Laura, like I said, I could talk to you all day long because you just exude joy. And the world does not have nearly enough of that. And you're just infectious with joy. So thank you for being my guest today. And before I let you go, tell us the name of your book and where it can be found.
Yes. So Say Yes Every Day, and you can find it on Amazon, either in a soft color cover or a Kindle version. And Audra, I will even say to you, if you have, I love giving my book away. I'm happy. My book, I wrote it to help other people. So honestly, if someone emails me at Laura at positivelycharged.biz, Laura at positivelycharged.biz, if you email me and you tell me what your gift to the world is, what is your unique superpower, whatever it is, there's no right or wrong answers, whatever you think it is, if you email me and tell me that, I will mail you out a free book.
Laura, that is extremely generous, and I appreciate you and thank you for that, because that is such a beautiful gift, because you're literally giving people the opportunity to change their lives and find their purpose and their why and their voice. And I promise you, when you finally get there, you can never go back. Once the genie's out of the bottle, genie's not going back in. And two, even though sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's scary, it is the most fulfilling you have ever lived in your life. And it is very palatable. It is obvious. And people will stop you and say, "What's different about you? Did you change your hair? Did you do something different? There's something different about you." And the difference is that you're suddenly and finally in line with your purpose. So now you glow from the inside out. It's impossible to shut it down because you're not supposed to. You're finally in line with what you're supposed to do. And Laura, thank you for being that advocate for that and the ambassador of finding your voice and finding your why. And thank you once again for being here with me and talking with me in the audience and just sharing so much of you. I appreciate it very much.
Well, it is truly a pleasure. And remember, all of you are here for a reason. And if you woke up today, your work is not done. You still have work to do in this world, and we need you to be you.
I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time. That's our show. Thank you all so much for spending your time with me and continuing to support this show, this community, and our endeavor to change the world one interview at a time. If you have any ideas for a new show or for a guest that you'd like me to interview, please reach out to me at audra@womeninthearena.net. Thank you again for all of your support, and we'll see you again next time.
This is just the beginning.
That's our show. I am so grateful for each and every one of you and your unwavering support and your continued belief in this movement that has become much bigger than me, much bigger than just a podcast. It has become this forward momentum that we are all doing together. If you are ready, or you know somebody that is ready to tell your story and share your value with the world, please connect with me. You can reach me at audra@womeninthearena.net. I am so honored and thankful that you will share your story with me, and I'll make sure that it is well taken care of. I will never stop thanking each and every one of you, and I cannot wait to talk to you again next week as we share another woman's story and we celebrate her doing extraordinary things in plain sight. We'll see you next time.